So then now that we have this part like this, the two separate bodies, what do we do with this? Well, as I think about this, pretty much the only thing we do with multiple bodies is we perform this Boolean operation on them. So bodies and Booleans very, very much go together, okay? So what's a Boolean? A Boolean is, well, these guys down here. And I'd say by far the typical ones to use, one that you hardly ever use is a symbol, but it's kind of interesting how it works. Maybe a video, we'll talk about that later. It's interesting in concept, but it's not, I'd say, not super functional for anything I do. Add, remove, these two right here. Add something, remove something, and from time to time intersect, because I have a particularly interesting use case for intersect, but I bet most people don't use it. So let's add something. So I hit add, and what's going to happen here is it's going to say, what body would you like to add to another body? Okay, so I'm just going to add some stuff together to show you what happens. And the way it goes together is going to be incorrect, but the model out here will functionally work. It'll be correct in that respect, but it's like I talk about over here in the tree. How you do things is often the most important job. So I could come over here and I say, I want to add the whole feature right here. Okay, I know it's kind of like a tube. It's like a cylinder. It's a shaft at this point in time. Later, maybe later, it will be a hole, okay? So I want to add hole, and it goes, oh, you mean to part body? Part body this one? No, I don't want that one. So I'm going to pick this one instead. So it's going to add hole to case, all right? And then watch over here in the tree. I've opened this all up so you can see what's going on. What this does is kind of interesting. What happens over here is the most important, okay? So focus on this. I hit OK, and now it's going to add these or join them together. And so the edge that wasn't there before is now there. The way that we always say to think about this is they're now welded together. These two parts are one part, okay? And if you look over in here in case, we have the pad that made the yellow block, and then we have an add. The add is the Boolean operation. And if you think about it, add what? So pad what? Pad what? Pad that sketch. That's how our tree works here. It's a great concept. As opposed to like Fusion 360 uses just a straight timeline. I really like the specification tree here. So again, if you look at this, it says add what? Well, that hole. The hole is based upon what? Well, it's a pad, and the pad is based upon a sketch. So everything we did, nothing got deleted. It just got moved and reordered in the tree to make it be this add function. But if I want to come back here and edit this sketch, I could come here and I could still change the size of this and exit out, and it's all still as it was, but it's still an add. I still have that edge there. So if I wanted to, like, for example, want to add a fillet to this, I can do that, you see? And then again, if I wanted to, I could come back here and edit the sketch, and the fillet would follow. As long as I don't make it too big, it would follow along as well. Okay, now the harder part. Look at this over here and follow me with this. By the way, if you want, you can click on this on a branch of the tree. This goes gray because the focus is over on the tree. So now I can pan the tree around anywhere within this little slider here. You can grab this and move it around. This is the way that 3D Experience works. If you bring it over here, it kind of goes away like a little invisible window. But if you zoom like you would a part, middle, and then click your third button, I can zoom the tree. So I can make it a little bit bigger so it's easier for you guys to see. Now, click the branch again. This brightens up, and now rotate and pan works with the model. So if I look over here, think of this like file folders. Just like in your computer, you have a folder, and inside the folder might be files. Or inside of that folder, there might be more folders that have files in each one of those folders. So this is about organization to some degree, and about copy and pasting of sorts, if you want to move something around. So under the root of case, we have a pad. And this pad created this block, like I just said. Then I have the add feature, and then I have the edge fillet. So if I collapse everything up, here's the order. I made a pad, I added something, then I added a fillet. to all the stuff that exists at this point in time here. Now, this part down in here, it's kind of hidden underneath this add. And the reason that this is considered a bad way to do this is that it is its own part. We made it as its own body. Sorry, not its own part, its own body. And very frequently, you might like to keep these two things separate. And what do I mean by separate? Well, that's another thing I'm going to have to explain in a second. Right now, they're not separate because whole is now a part of case. This is what I want you to think about here. These are kind of like the files, and this is sort of a folder of sorts. It's a body, it's a folder, if you want to think of it, called whole, and it contains all the things that made that cylinder over there. This is a file of sorts, saying, add in a pad and edge fill it down here. So what I would like to have, what I would like to do is I want this whole and this case to be separate from each other. So, for example, if I were to copy this element right here, case, it's going to come along with the whole, the cylinder. I know I should have named it something different, but it's going to come along with this every single time, okay? So I know that that sounds confusing, and I apologize. I wish I could have said it better, but I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to show you the right way that it's supposed to be. So I will undo all of this. So the edge fillet will go away, and there we go. So now we're back to where we have this feature here. And you know what? I'm going to rename this. Okay, so case, shaft. Hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. Oh, it's gray again. Okay, we'll just leave it be. Okay. So if I had a folder with a bunch of files in it, and I had another folder with a bunch of files in it, I don't want to take this folder and stick it inside of another folder. What I want to do is I want to take this folder and put it in a different folder, and I want to take this folder and put it in that other folder, or file cabinet is kind of the idea here. So watch this. Come back down here to my Booleans, and I hit add. What do I want to add to what? I want to add case to, click in there, part body. So it's going to take case and put it in there. So there you go. Nothing different has happened. Add is just now in part body, and the add, of course, is the case here. So that's sitting there. Now the shaft, I'm going to add it in also, shaft to part body, and hit OK. Now I get the edge back here, so I could add a fillet if I wanted to. And if I look inside part body, I have two adds that are separate from each other. The case, the shaft here is not inside the case. They're not a part of each other. If I wanted to copy this out of here and take it somewhere else, I could do that. And the same with the shaft. They're separated, okay? So that's the proper way to do it. As fairly usually, a lot of these best practices will start to become a lot more understandable as time goes by. I have had many students who have gone through many different levels of class. I remember one told me it was not until maybe the third quarter. They said, in the beginning, I thought this organization and renaming things and all this was a pain. And then the second one, I was getting used to it. And now in the third class, he understood that there was no other way to do it. It would absolutely, have to do it this way now, which is kind of interesting to see it go that direction. So I'm going to undo this again, and I would like to show you the other Boolean operations, and then we'll be done with this video. Okay. Case, shaft. I don't know why that sketch, I must have undid it until it got hidden or shown. To make this a little bit easier, maybe we will go, my goodness, we'll go here to properties and we'll put it back to green again. So now I want to do the same thing again. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add this to part body. Now, Later, we're going to talk about why maybe you wouldn't add it to part body yet, because maybe you're going to add it to a third body that you make that ultimately you add into part body. So this is going to be a long story here. So hit OK, and I've added case into part body. Now, shaft here, now I'm going to use the remove Boolean operation. So I'm going to click on this icon right there, and I'm going to say shaft, remove it from part body. And this is why I named it hole in the beginning, because I thought this is what I was going to do first. Now it takes that shaft and it removes it from the other object. This is a very important, useful tool right here. And you're probably looking at this going, you're nuts, because you just did a circle and a pocket. So, you know, Rube Goldberg kind of machine thing, you know, that you just did way too many steps to get the same thing I could have done with a circle. Yeah, totally. However, if I wanted to make a lot more complex shapes are a lot easier for humans generally to define or to create as a positive. Think about like a mold. I wanted to make a mold of something. You model the airplane, and then if you want to make a mold of it, you stick the airplane in a block, and then you remove it, and that's how you make a mold. Okay. So let me undo this really fast, and then I will, here, let's redo that. Okay, whatever, we'll just add that in. So I'll add that into part body really fast. So there's the case added in. And now I'm going to do an intersect. So what's going to happen here, just to kind of cut to the chase, is this green block intersects the yellow right in that middle area there. Imagine that we trimmed away the top and the bottom of the green shaft, and we trimmed away all the outer section of the yellow, and we're only left with that middle section where this and this intersects. That's what it's going to do. And if you look at this, see this icon down here? I didn't actually plan this, but the whole time I'm doing this is exactly 100% what those icons are down there. Interesting. So intersect. I want to intersect this with part body, hit OK, and now I'm left with just a little hockey puck out of the center, you see? All right, I'm going to stop here because this is already way too long. The next one I'm going to get back to talking about different types of part bodies.